My name is Kevin and I collect old irons. We are talking about the gas jet irons. And the gas jet irons are an enigmatic group. They are an important group. They have a history going from the 1850s into the World War II era, maybe into that post-war end of things. Most of that history in Europe. But it is something that there's not a lot of information about. And yet there are at least 3 subgroups in that basic category, and we will say a little bit about what little I know about that group. I do have 7 or 8 irons altogether in that group. I'm going to be showing you everything that I have, and it's a group of which I'd like to learn more. The gas jets are a group of irons that have natural gas external burner. I need to demonstrate. This is an interesting iron. If you look at it right away, it's got an opening in the back. It's got a couple of vents in the front. This one is surprisingly modern looking. What is it? Well, it would help if I brought to you the external burner. This is a natural gas burner. Say a little bit about the iron here. The company is the J. Wright & Company from Birmingham, England. This is an English iron. You might be able to tell the English quite readily. It's got this very, what's called granite ware, also called gray agate enamel here, which is very, very typical of English cookware and so forth. And the iron here then sits upon that. Let's just go through the routine again. There would be a gas line to here. I'd probably have a valve at the end of the gas line. I would make sure this is turned off, turn on the gas wherever that source might be, turn this on, and I now have gas coming here. I'll light that. I have a gas burner here that I can now put my iron onto, heat up the inside of the iron. I can use this and, let me take another one and put that one here. So now that one's heating. I can use this iron, and when this is cooled down, I can replace and continue. This is the gas jet system. This particular one has a little knob here, which I've learned is patented in 1918. These irons, I think, were probably made in 1920s. There is an electric iron exactly like this. Everything the same, except it's got an electric cord and an electric burner inside, an electric cord at the back. Very interesting device. Let's take a look at another. Again, what we're looking at here is we're looking at European irons of the 20th century. We're doing that group first because those are the ones that I have for which I can show you the burners. So this particular iron has, it looks like a slug iron. I mean, it's got that rear post and handle. Lots of slug irons take on this shape, but the slug irons have a door on the back, some kind of a lifting mechanism, and they don't have the vents on the front. So you have the hole in the back, you have the vents on the front. This is get this right here, this is a gas jet. I don't have the second one here, so I can't do the exchange. These irons are notably common in Europe in the 20th century. As far as I know, there was nobody doing quite this in the United States at that time, but you find these all over the place in Europe. And before we move on with this, let me show you something really neat. Voila! This is a rocker natural gas iron system. These were made in Germany, also Austria, also Czechoslovakia, I believe. There were a number of companies making these contemporaneous to this iron right here, and the top is quite recognizable. They have all kinds of interesting decor. These things go back to the late 1800s, some of which were very fancy, and this would be, I'm thinking, early 1900s, maybe as late as the 20s or the 30s. Some of these have quite ornamented bases with dragon motifs and other kinds of things, and those are quite sought after individually. The system here is, it's a rocker natural gas heater, and let's see, my gas line comes into here. The bottom iron here is being heated. Is that going to stay there? There it is. I can now use this one. The bottom iron here is being heated. Once this is cooled down, I repeat the process. Simple as that. Now, is this anything better, more convenient than this? I don't think so. I think it's just as easy doing this number and repeating, maybe even easier. But then again, if you are German and you drive a Mercedes, you want the iron system that matches the car that you drive, and I think that is why these things are out there. These things are in the several $100 realm. Fairly common though. You do see these almost every time that there is an old iron specialty auction, which happens once or twice a year. One of these things turns up. The price used to be high, now getting into the $200–300 realm if one is game for one of these. Postage would be quite considerable, I am sure. Poof, that disappeared. And one more natural gas European iron from the 1900s. I'm not sure what the date is on this. The name is Gebby. It might even be post-World War II. I have no heater for this, but I wanted to show this one because this one actually does have a door. The door does not move too easily. It does not have a knob on it. I assume that when this iron was being used, this would have been well oiled, and if I had flipped this over, the top would go down by gravity. Of course, I am usually heating these things upside down, and then when I picked it up, this would by gravity go down, and I could iron with it. So again, another one of these interesting gas jets. There are earlier examples as well that I have seen. They do go back in Europe to the 1800s, and apparently were used throughout Europe. A lot of them come out of Portugal, Spain, France, Germany, and so forth. Not a group that has had a lot of interest in the United States in the last 100 years, however. But the United States has some early examples of these, and we will take a look at those. The oldest natural gas irons in the United States are from an 1857 patent, and that particular iron looked very, very much like this one. This is not exactly that iron. This has a 1863 patent. I've had this iron for a long time, and for the longest time I just had no idea what this thing was. Again, it's got the hole in the bottom, it's got quite a big mass at the lower parts of the iron, and it's got the, whatever that is, a vent at the front. What this is an early American gas jet. I do not have the base. I have never seen the base for one of these. They're fairly rare. They're not necessarily expensive. I don't think the group is attracted a lot of interest, although they're now of interest to me. And that's all I have for this category, or this subgroup of the category. But I should tell you about one that just got away. picture here is from an auction of a couple, 3 months ago from where I sit. And this is a McCarty iron with an 1879 patent. I had it on my want list going up to $180. I went for $190. So somebody out there presumably watching this video owns this iron, and it's a nice iron. If anybody out there has something like this, or particularly if anybody has one of these things, these early American irons with the original base, I've never seen one. I assume that there was a base, although maybe this was something that was sold and the person who bought it was expected to jury rig their own base system. But if anybody has one, they can send me pictures. I am planning on an addendum video down the way, or if you have one that you wish to trade or sell to me, especially with the base, I've got a lot of curiosity about this unusual group. So we've talked about the European gas jet irons, mostly 1900s. We've talked about the early American representatives of that. There is a third grouping within these gas jets category, and I need to paint a picture, okay? You are a traveling business person in the late 1800s, door-to-door work and so forth. You have the money to stay in a decent enough hotel. You've got work to do in the morning, but man, my creases really need some work. I don't have the time to get my clothes or my second traveling set of clothes to the tailor to have them all done up, but obviously I can't sell stuff dressed like this. One moment. In my baggage. Ah, yes, here I am. This is a small traveling gas jet iron, patented 1871. I have to tell you, the first time that I saw one of these was in an antique shop in southern Maine. It was one of these things, and I'm looking at this, and I passed on it because it's interesting, I guess, but obviously it's missing parts. It is not missing parts. This is the complete thing. What I am going to do with this is I am going to, again, I'm traveling in a fairly decent hotel. Fairly decent hotel of that period would have natural gas lamps. And what I'm going to do is take my lamp. I will take the globe off, of course keeping it turned off in the meantime, and I'm going to now have my naked termination to my natural gas. Light her up. I now have a hot iron to do the creases on my clothing. This particular iron is the Chalfant. The Chalfant Manufacturing Company was the one that marketed and invented the first of these, at least in American use. And my good friend Rick Tyler tells me that Chalfant was the first company that also marketed the Mrs. Potts irons. Chalfant was innovative in a big way for that point in time. This is a great idea. A number of companies then came on board with their own marketed patents of that. We can take a look at this one right here. This one is a 1900 patent, which is to say that these things have at least a 30-year history. The way this one worked is the stem here goes through the handle. There's a hole in the handle. Let's get this going. And into the iron. You might notice on the handle there's a bit of a burn spot, so obviously you are dealing with flames. There are, I'm not sure how many American companies marketing these things. There's a number of these things out there. Costs not too high. I actually, at a auction a few months ago, an old iron auction, This was late in the auction. By that time, most people spent their energy, and I think this is an iron that most of the collectors had anyway. I did not, but I hadn't been paying much attention, but this came up. Bidding starting, $10 for the first bid, $10 for the first bid. The heck, pushed that thing down, and I bought it for $10. So opportunities are out there. By and large, none of the irons that we're talking about here are overly expensive, though. The early ones might be in the several $100 realm, and of course, if you're going to get the big rocker natural gas, that will cost you several $100s as well. And I have one more to show, and what I have to show here is not a gas jet per se, but it has the appearance of a gas jet. These are from an 1879 patent. I've actually found 3 of these over my travels. All 3 of them I found in Quebec City, so apparently it's from that part of the world. And 2 of those I have traded to other collectors. This is the one I have here. We'll take a look at it. It has a hole in the back. It has vents in the front, but this does not operate on natural gas. What it does operate on is a kerosene lamp. So I have my kerosene doing its thing, put this up here, and now I have an iron system. And that's what I have for this subject. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've certainly enjoyed learning about this topic, although I must admit I have a lot more to learn on this one, and I will see you again.